Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Soul Chats with Psychic Medium Dani Jo, and we have our guest today, Connie McPherson. Thank you for joining me, Connie.
Oh, I'm honored to do so and happy to be here tonight. So,
Yes, thank you. Hello there, everyone who's watching. I'm just going to pull up my Facebook here. If you don't enable StreamYard, then I won't be able to see who it is, but we'll look here. We've got Deb and Casey and Marcy and Christina. Good to see everybody. Thanks for joining us. Anyway, I'm so excited. Feels like forever since I've done a podcast, even though it's only been a month. I was thinking about you today and trying to remember actually how we met. I think it was through a session.
a group session
Oh,
at,
that's correct. In
at
Rapid.
in Rapid at Dr. Barr's office.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, that's been a long while ago.
yes, it has
Holy
been.
cow. Awesome. Cool. Well, while we let all of our viewers join us here, I've actually known Connie a couple years now, and so have gotten to know her very well. I'm sure many of you watching also know her. So it'll be fun to chat, but we're going to chat a little bit today, kind of about her path in spirituality, some of her experiences with that, and kind of anything that she wants to share with us. But for those of you who do not know Connie, I'm going to have her tell you a little bit about her background of who she is.
Uh, I grew up in a shanty Irish town in northwest Iowa called Emmitsburg and ended up in South Dakota. I'm married for 45 years, have 4 kids and 9 grandkids.
Nice.
And we live on a ranch 27 miles from Sturgis and 35 from Rapid, Union Center, and New Underwood. So we're centrally located in the middle of nowhere. And that, I love it out here. And I keep busy chasing grandkids a lot.
Nice. So all of your kids and grandkids are pretty local for you?
There's some that live right next door. And then the other, there's the son and his wife next door with 5 kids. And then the other 3 are in Pier, and there's 4 grandkids there then.
Okay,
But
not too far.
no, no,
My
not too far.
my sister has her grandkids right next door, and she absolutely loves it.
Yeah,
Absolutely loves it.
it's fun. It's fun. They're fun.
That's
So
cool. Leanne was just telling us that her father-in-law was from Emmitsburg, Iowa.
really,
Leanne Rafferty.
okay. Is that her maiden name or
No, that's
I
her
don't know?
married name. She'll have to tell us her
Yeah.
maiden name here.
So
Anyway, so how long have you been in Sturgis then, or the Sturgis area?
um I am a lab tech and I interned out at Fort Meade and I came out here in 1973 then and
Wow,
met my husband a couple of years later and then we were married in 77. So I've been out here since I've been about 19.
that's cool. I didn't know you were a lab tech.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I didn't know this.
Yes, I started out that way. I worked in a doctor's office. I worked for blood services, and I ended up at the Forest Service in the Rocky Mountain Forest and Range Experimental Lab Station doing lab work for them for a number of years and on different things.
Crazy.
And yeah, yep,
That's cool. Well, I'm glad you ended up out here.
yep.
Leanne said that it was her father-in-law, so it was a Rafferty. So Leo Rafferty was his name.
The name is familiar, but I just
It's been a while.
yeah, yeah. I go back almost every year. I have a cousin that lives there and some good
Oh,
friends. And
cool.
so we're back about every year. And my mother had lived there until she passed away.
Okay.
So
Is that a long drive? I don't know if I've ever been to Iowa.
500 miles exactly from
Okay.
where door to door.
Okay. Actually, it's not too bad. I mean, it's a long drive, but not too bad.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, tell us how you went from your daily life to figuring out spirituality. Like, how did that door open for you?
There's been some glimpses of it here and there all the time, but it's just never something I really pursued, or just left after a while, somewhat, with other things happening. And it was after my mom died in 2015. I thought, well, I'm going to go to an intuitive medium. And I went to a different one, and it really opened up the floodgates. It was like, oh my goodness, well, I just wanted to learn more and more. And I mean, she was good then, and I just wanted to keep learning more. And I said, are you going to do any classes? You want to do, what can I do? And she'd say, well, yeah, I thought about it, and I thought about it. And she never really did. And then COVID came along, and there's a friend of mine that is an intuitive too. And anyway, I said, can you help me? So she would help me and give me exercises to do to strengthen it and think about it. And she said, oh, this is what you're on the right path. You're doing this. And then I kind of quit seeing the other intuitive. It just didn't feel right anymore. Things just weren't right. And so I saw it where your appointments in your group thing was in Dr. Barr's office. She's my chiropractor. And so Tammy from there, the massage therapist, says, well, you should come this night, And I said, oh, well, okay, I should. So I did. And that's where I met you. And that's where I started with you. And awesome. I just want to say, if you guys are on an intuitive path or that, or want to develop it more, Dani Jo is the one. she will help you. She takes her time with you. She tells you, everybody has a different path, kind of intuitiveness of which way they're going with it or what their strong suit is. But they can find it. It takes work. It takes some study.
Absolutely.
We all have the intuitiveness. We just need to develop it if we want more.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100% right. And thank you for saying that. It's been such a pleasure to work with you, truly. I have to add in here, though, I think it's kind of funny that one of my clients, her name's Bobby. She's a friend of Kim's, and she's the one that wanted the groups to happen in Kim's office. And Kim was kind of like, okay, but I don't really want to be involved in this. But she came one night, and her mom came through for her, and we've been fast friends ever since. She's now on my board, of course, for the nonprofit. But I always think how funny that was, that if she had never come, she probably never would have been like, you can use my office. So I'm so grateful that she was. But we do have a couple questions. Kristen said these chats here with your guests are so cool. And Kim said she seconds that, what you were saying. And Deb Silvernagel has asked, Connie, what do you recommend for a person if they want to start Reiki? Now, we haven't talked about the fact that you are a Reiki Master. So I will have you enlighten us on that. But if you want to answer her question first, you certainly can.
Okay. Yes. I don't know. All of a sudden, Reiki, the thought of Reiki just came to me. I did not know anybody that had ever done Reiki or practiced Reiki or that. And the first oracle card I ever drew was Akasha, which is a spiritual teacher. And I thought, well, that sounds good. And it says with healing and this. And I thought, well, that sounds like something I want to do, healing and that. And a different massage therapist, I had gone to her, and I saw these Reiki books in her waiting room. So I asked her, and she said, well, take a book home and read it and see. Well, I couldn't get past the first chapter. It was like, am I going to have to know all of this? I can't do it. You know, it was just like, I don't know what they're talking about here. And I'd read it and read it. Anyway, she put me on. She said, well, Chantel is having a Reiki get together. I can't think of the word I want to use. It's for Reiki, ones that have taken the Reiki and then just to get together to practice and see what's going on. And you were supposed to have Reiki to get into it, but I didn't. And Chantel said I could come. And so I said, oh, okay. So I went, and then she was offering a class coming up after that. So I took my classes from Chantel there in Rapid. And I thought, well, that's good. You know, after the first couple of classes, I thought, well, I don't know that I need Reiki 3. I don't know, you know, whatever. And that. And anyway, I just thought, well, it's here, it's available, I'll just do it. And
Spirit's way of working on you.
Yeah, never ever thought I would ever teach it. I'm just going to use it. I'm going to help those I can and whatever. And never thought I would teach it. So yes, now along with Shell, we're teaching Reiki classes. So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
I'm so glad you guys are doing that. I think that there's so many people with the spiritual awakening happening that are trying to find their place or their passion. And, you know, Reiki is a beautiful healing tool. So I think that's phenomenal. Kim Barr just said, love it. I don't think she heard the part where we talked about her. So Kim, you'll have to go back and listen to it. And Kim Cook said that you and Connie, or you and Shell, are the bomb.com. So
Thank you.
Thumbs up for you.
Thank you.
So for those that might be watching who maybe don't understand what a Reiki Master is, tell them what that is or what you do. I mean, in your own words.
I don't even know. It's an energy healing that is put out there, and it was developed by Usui many years ago when he was ailing, and he went under the waterfall, and he wasn't feeling good, but he came out and decided, you know, it's like if you cut yourself or bump yourself, your first inclination is to put your hand on it and touch it, and it's like, oh, that feels better. And that's kind of how it kind of originated. And then he developed these symbols with it and that. And the Reiki one is just and you can practice on yourself and others in person. Reiki 2 is another step to send long distance Reiki to someone. And then Reiki 3 is another powering up of doing all of it, but it just incorporates it all. And then you do have to have Reiki 3 if you ever want to teach, or it's beneficial to open a business with if you're going to practice Reiki in a business too. You can do it with just Reiki 1 and 2, but it is beneficial for a business and to get that next level of Reiki there. I don't do very many in-person Reiki sessions. Most of mine are long distance, just because that's where my people are that I've been practicing on.
Yeah. We've talked about that a little bit. I know in some of the work you and I have done together about, you know, different people that you've worked on and for different purposes. So I know you've done quite a bit of that, and you mostly do yours at night. Is that right?
Yeah, it's when it's really quiet around here finally. And when I start to go to bed, then I just calm down and go that way and listen to my relaxing, calming music and do my Reiki that way. And
awesome.
Hope it helps too. There's a lot of times if it's a first person that I've been working on, I will sit at some other time and work on them, because there's sometimes that intuitive things will come to me or that way working on them, where at night I kind of tend to do it in a big energy ball with all of them and concentrate on maybe their area that I'm picking up that night and that. But I'll have to share when you always told us in practicing, if anything, if you see a white elephant, it's a white elephant. Don't try and guess what it is. Don't try and think about it. Don't try and make it logical. One of the Reikis that I did on a gal long distance, I went through everything and I turned up red and black buffalo plaid. So I text her of what I had found and all of this. And I said, does any of this resonate with you? And she goes, no, none of it. And I said, well, okay. And I ordered a t-shirt from her. It came and it was in one of those padded envelopes that was red and black buffalo plaid.
I love that. I love that. And such validation, right? So I got to point out here. So that's a point when someone couldn't understand any of it. They would have thought, oh, I did something wrong. I shouldn't have said that. But instead you're like, okay, that's okay. I can just sit with it, right? We don't have to know. Mm-hmm. And then Spirit was like, I want you to know that that was intentional. So here comes this envelope. I love that. I love that.
It is. And it's the other thing I'd like, to point out is that you've taught me in the mediumship class too, and the others too, of don't try and find a logical answer for what you're turning up. And because it may not be that, or it may be something entirely different that person or spirit is thinking or whatever, because sometimes it's just not logical. We want to put logic on it ourselves, but it's not a logical answer that comes up, that yes. What their message is.
And I'm glad that that's something that you remember, because it's so hard. Our human brain gets in the way and we want to solve everything and understand everything. So it gets muddy. So talking about your intuition, one of my favorite stories that I've ever heard you tell is that, you like to give messages, and you are very unique in the way you give messages. And I absolutely love that. But one of my favorite stories is your story of being on the plane.
Yeah. I like that one too. We were on the plane to Dallas, and anyway, the guy was ahead of me, kitty cornered, in the seat ahead of me, kitty cornered. The energy was so overwhelming coming off of him. It was just unbelievable. And I'm sitting there just, oh my gosh, what am I going to do here? This is unreal. And I can't tell my husband, because then the whole plane would know, because he can't hear. So I'm just dealing with this energy going on. And I finally just thought, okay, Spirit, if he wants a message, he'll turn around and start talking to me. He turned around and started talking to me. Well, I about fell out of my seat, because it was like, well, now what am I going to do? And anyway, it's just like, okay, I'm just as surprised at what comes out of my mouth as somebody else, because Spirit just takes over. And I just said, do you want a message? And he goes, yeah, I do. And I said, okay. And I gave it to him in very general terms, because once again, I didn't want to put what my thoughts were going into what I thought it was.
Sure.
And I just had told him, at that time, I said, I know you're at an important crossroads, a very important decision making coming up here. And your family is all behind you, and they are here for you, and they are here to support you. And so you will make the right decision, and God bless. And he goes, you are absolutely right. He said, I really needed that today.
That's amazing. So amazing. And what I want to point out here too is, so many people have that intuition, they have those feelings, but they never act on them, right? And partly it's because we're afraid. We don't know what that means. Is this person going to think we're crazy or roll their eyes at us? But when you're called to give those messages or to step in to give someone a hug or, say that encouraging thing, it's so important to do so. And so I'm really proud of you that you allow yourself to do that, because so many people don't. And I love that when you told Spirit, I'll do it if this happens, and they made it happen, you were like, wait, just kidding. Wait. I've done that so many times, but I mean, really, when we're on that end of it, we committed to that. And then it's like, okay, I'm going for it. I'm going to do it.
I think it's important to ask them too, do you want a message?
Absolutely.
I have jumped in where they didn't want a message. I had to learn.
Absolutely.
They had to learn to have some tact with it and say, okay, do you want a message then? And the other funny story was we had a guy doing some home remodeling stuff for us. And we were to pick up some samples from him in Rapid. And I said, well, meet us, at the Colonial House and that. Well, then we found out my son was in town, and he was at that end of town where he could have picked up the samples. So my husband is saying, well, call him and tell him he doesn't have to come. Call him and tell him he doesn't have to come. And I said, no, let him come. Let him come. And, Wayne, he's just impatient. No, he doesn't have to. And I go, I've got a message for him. And he goes, well, what are you going to say? And I go, I don't know. And he goes, would you think he's going to want it? And I go, I think so.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So he did. It opened up a wonderful opportunity for me after that. He was very receptive to the message. He's Native American also. I was invited to a Sundance that following
awesome.
summer then, which is a unique experience, quite a unique and humbling experience to go to one of those then too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that.
Because even when I'm sitting there giving him the message, we did go into the Colonial House, and the guy says, he goes, well, what's Mr. McPherson think of that? And Wayne's sitting right there, and I go, oh, he's getting used to it. He's getting more used to it.
That's awesome. I was just going to ask you, what is that like, being married 45 years and having a husband who's trying to get used to, your spirituality and your ability to tell other people messages?
He is getting more used to it. And actually he's becoming more intuitive himself.
That's awesome.
With working on, because I'm always telling him, trust your intuition. Trust your intuition, go with that. And he is, and he'll say things and it's like, oh, where did that come from?
That's awesome.
So yes, he's getting more used to it. My daughter-in-laws are very open and receptive to it. My daughter is, I was telling you earlier, my sons call me Teresa Caputo, but I'm not really that.
That's all right. We'll put your name up there with the big wigs, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Barb says, Steve sends Shokure for our podcast. Love it. I don't think I missed any questions. Lena did say she does act, but then she feels like they look at her different and think she's strange. And I think, Lena, that's probably a really, what I would tell you there is some of that is about trusting spirit more than you trust other people. But also, asking ahead of time if they're open to a message. But sometimes we have to really have faith in spirit way more than we do ourselves or the other person, and trust that even if you don't understand why, it's significant. But so you just talked about your family, and I was going to ask you, how did your family react to things? So your boys are maybe warming up to the idea, but tease you a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's another misconception that we read minds and we know all of this stuff, and it's like, no, we pick up on energy.
Yeah.
It's what it is, and it's not like we really know what somebody else is really thinking or what they're doing or that. And I think some of them that maybe um, are afraid of it, so to speak, or afraid of what the answer might be of to find out.
Absolutely. And I don't mean this to be sexist, but I find that men oftentimes are more afraid that we're going to read their minds than women. Like they're super worried about it. Whenever I have men come in for readings in groups or whatnot, you can always tell the ones who are like, don't get in my head, lady, you know? And if I bring it up, they'll laugh, but they totally know exactly what I'm talking about. And I tell them, that's an invasion of privacy. I wouldn't any more want to know someone's personal thoughts than I would expect you to undress in front of me, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
invasion of privacy.
Right. It's just too much. I don't have enough energy to do that.
Amen. 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 Kim Barr asked, why do you think that is? And I think, Kim, it's because men's brains are more scientific and women are more emotional. So that's my feeling behind it anyway.
They have to have a logical reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to be, a black and white answer. It cannot be, well, just because that's how it is, It's.
Yeah, absolutely. So Juanita said, love this, starting to trust in my intuition and stopped questioning myself. Had to pull away from people that were actually making me question myself. Listening to all of you is so helpful. That's a super important, valid point. There, when your spiritual awakening happens, it is like spirit weeds out the people who will not be good for you.
Mm-hmm. Boundaries are very important in this too, and they're just important for a person themselves, is to establish your boundaries. There's what we call the energy vampires out there too. No matter what your situation, no matter where you're at on your path, no matter what, boundaries have to be established. And they can expand and they can contract, but it's very important, even in some of my Reiki work, with ones I have said you need to establish your energetic boundaries.
Yeah.
It's just very important for them to do that, because I can sense when they're not allowing those boundaries to be up with them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think a good way to describe that to people who don't understand it is imagine a 2-year-old that has eaten a crap ton of sugar and they're running around screaming, throwing their arms around, and you're over there like, oh my gosh, like, oh, I can't even like handle being in the same room. That is like someone who can't control their energy or is also pulling energy from other people. And so people's energy does that when they don't know how to contain their energy or also set boundaries. And we can be on both sides of that. We can be the one who's not containing our energy, but very big deal about that. And you have so many people that do drain your energy vampires that don't even know they are that.
But they have a sense about it. Somehow that energy has a sense about it and wants to come and find you. And if you don't have that boundary up, and if you don't put your protection up, and that, it's like now it's going to try and find its way in.
Absolutely.
And so you just have to keep up and say, okay, no, I'm not doing the negative. I've got my boundaries established with this, and this is where it's at. And they're different with everybody, or the energy, or whatever you're feeling,
Absolutely. That's funny. You said they're different with everybody, because Corey just said she notices her boundaries are different with different people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Christina said she never would have met Connie if it wasn't for her spiritual journey. Such a wonderful and beautiful community. And what happens, Lena says, what happens when you have energy vamps nearby and you can't get rid of them? Will they compromise your intuitiveness? My take on that, and Connie can answer too if she wants, is that you can have as much protection around yourself as needed. So as long as you're aware that that energy vampire is there, you can energetically protect yourself and continue to do so if needed. If you're unaware that it's an energy vampire, they can take some of your intuitiveness, because I actually had that happen with a mentor, is that they took my energy to do their own work and I could not do the work. So that can actually happen. Did you want to add to that?
I agree. Most of the time, you'll sense that energy. If you walk into a room or a place or a person or whatever. I have a toxic neighbor. We used to be good friends, and then the toxicity got so bad that I just had to put it up, and it was like, okay, it was like a spider web. I got myself into this, now I've got to get myself out. So when I saw the phone ring and I knew what it was, I would have to prepare myself. And then I would just take the calls less and less after that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I think, we find ourselves just spending less and less time with people like that. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think it's self-preservation sometimes, that we have to think about ourselves above everyone else, because we can't be the healers and caregivers and teachers that we are if we don't fill our cup first and keep others at bay. Linnell Schroeder just said, and Linnell's one of my good clients from Wessington Springs. She's been setting up groups for me for forever, but she was one that you trained a while back, and you were awesome, she says. Linnell Schroeder.
I didn't. In what? What did I?
I don't know. Linnell, did you take Reiki with her? I did not even know that you took Reiki. Oh, you trained on her. She must have been there when you.
Oh, I remember now. Now I remember.
Yes, I
Yes.
read that wrong.
In the mediumship class.
Oh, in
Now,
my
yes.
class, I was thinking it was Reiki.
Because I'm thinking I didn't have a Linnell then. No, it was in the mediumship
That's how
class.
bad my memory is. Holy crap. That's funny. I was like, you knew Linnell before I did?
No.
Oh my gosh. Deanne was saying that she just went through the energy vampire thing. It's definitely a tough situation. I'm going to have to ask you two things. I think as healers on our journey, one of the challenges is that we continue to work on ourselves as we help others heal. And that's a fact. Like, we never achieve that state of perfection and then teach. We're doing it hand in hand. And I wondered if you would share either maybe one of the challenges you've had with that, or something that you feel like you've had to overcome in that, or even just your perspective of it.
One of the biggest things you have to do is forgive yourself. And you can forgive others left and right, and you can do that, but we find it hard to forgive ourselves for what we did and for everything. We just nitpick at ourselves about things like that. And it's like, okay, just move on, because you did the best you could with what you had, and it's just time to move on. Quit dwelling in the past mistakes, the past hardships, the past whatever went on. Move on. This is up to you yourself individually to move on and heal, and to help others to heal that way. And I remember one of the things we did at one of the sanctuary retreats was things there. And it was heart-wrenching for me to watch a couple of them. at that retreat. And I'm thinking, I don't want to do that. You know, I am just, it's like, I'm not doing that. You know, there's no way. And anyway, after one of the really heart-wrenching ones, she came and sat beside me and held my hand. And that's the first time I had met her, was at that retreat. That's the first time I'd met any of them besides you and Brooke, was at this retreat. And there's 20 some of us there. And so she held my hand and all of that stuff. And I'm still sitting there and everything. And I went into the bathroom and I had to come to Jesus meeting. I came back out and I said, okay, I'm ready. Because I just thought to myself, how can I help others to heal if I'm not willing to try and heal myself deep down too? And it's not all in this lifetime, is what I found out. We go back ancestrally and this kind of stuff, way back, of patterns in healing modes and energy modes, and that, you know, it's always a work in progress, and just keep.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the reasons why it's so hard. You know, it would be like if you could just take a book and go, okay, this is what I have to do, and then I'm better, or I'm in a better place, it would be easy, and it's not. And Lena just asked a good question. She said, what's the best way to heal childhood past trauma to be a better version of yourself? And this actually goes along with, not everything works for everybody. And some of that past or childhood trauma is also past life trauma. So you might have to find those techniques and, you know, things that will work for you. I've done so many different forms of healing. And even recently, just in an EMDR session with Steph, I had more childhood trauma show up that I didn't even realize was there. So it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. It's like a little at a time, and it starts to unfold. But
that is it. I just say, you know, you go with it, you meditate with it, you pray with it, you know, do this, and, you know, try to come to grips with it. Know that it's not all your fault. Forgive yourself for it, because it is the layers that you're still peeling back all the time, and it just it can come up and bite you in the rear real quick sometimes too. When you think, oh, I'm doing pretty good, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh boy. And
where did that come from, right?
Yeah. And my biggest thing is take some deep breaths, look up, and calm yourself. Don't let, you know it's going to trigger you, you know it's going to do whatever. Know what your triggers are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So somebody asked, can you heal in one session, or does it take more sessions? And how long are your sessions? So I think they're asking specifically to you, Connie. So actually, first of all, let's tell people if you take on clients that way, or if you do yours just for people that you are close to.
Like I said, I don't do in-person ones, so to speak. Some family members I do, some friends that are around I do. Mine are mostly long distance. What I have found is that in sitting with it in the Reiki, intuitiveness, the intuitive will come up with what some of the things are going on with somebody. I think more sessions are beneficial because, like, once again, it's the layers there of going on. The Reiki is to heal certain instances. I did certain things maybe somebody might talk about, or I'll say. It's really hard to say, because I can remember one time after probably just, I don't even remember if I probably had my Reiki Masters, and I was at a cookout one night, And this gal keeps holding her hip and her going on, and she obvious pain. And I said, does your hip and leg bother you? And and she said, well, yeah. And I said, do you want a Reiki session? And she goes, I've never heard of Reiki. And the hostess was there, and she goes, oh, it's better than a massage. And she goes, well, I've never had a massage either. And so I said, well, okay, let's go inside. And we went into the house there and into the bedroom. And I said, just lay in the bed. And this is one instance where I really worked on her. And there was just a lot of trauma there, and it was stored in that area. And then when I don't even know how long I worked on her. I don't even remember. And when I was done, I said, you just lay here for a while and do some processing. And she bawled and she bawled and she bawled. And then she goes, I have never felt this good in years. And whatever happened to her, I don't know. She's moved since then. And I don't really.
That's amazing. That's
No.
amazing. So a couple things I just want to add. Corey said, when you think it's done, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And it is freeing, Allison. Tom asked, do we believe that deep meditation of going back in time to fix what happened and then move forward to present time? So I think that some of what we can do for our healing is to go back to some of those circumstances where we do forgiveness work, and that's age regression and past life regression healing. It's what it's called. It can be done anyway. You can do that on your own. I want to just give you my own example, though, and this will kind of help you guys understand healing. I am still continuing to work on myself at 48 years old. And I have had all different types of therapy. I've had hypnotherapy, which has helped me reveal some of my trauma. I have had and continue to have regular energy work done. And that helps me on a regular basis to feel balanced. And certain things will come up. Maybe my energy needs cleared or it's low. I've had EMDR counseling. I've had dragonstone medicine, age regression and past life regression. I've had majority of the therapies, and I can tell you that they have all been different, and they've all helped me in different ways. And it's kind of like I always tell people, you've got Tylenol, ibuprofen, and Motrin. Everybody always has a preference to one, right? But they all would work in some form or fashion. It's the same way with healing. They all work in some form or fashion, but you're going to have what you're typically drawn to. But energy work or Reiki, I always tell people you could have it done every day, because we're constantly needing that rebalancing from getting frustrated at the slow driver or the checkout clerk that was rude. And it's obvious you don't need it every day, but literally you could have it every day. And it's great for bringing those, emotions back into balance. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that conversation or how I was going to end that conversation.
Well, I agree. I mean, it's because sometimes you're like you said, you're going to peel back and you're going to turn up something different, and you're going to wonder, okay, where did that come from? And you're here and you're there, but it's just, I don't know that could be healed in one session either, one deep session either, because I think you're going to go back and find different things, especially if it goes back ancestrally and this and that. And what we're going to do, we can always try, and we can always do the energy healing and that way, and the ancestral way too, which I've tried to, that's always just a work in progress of going on too, and healing that, and
Absolutely
trying to rectify things too. So it's just an ongoing process, I guess.
It is an ongoing process. And the crazy thing is, just like everybody who's watching, some of them know this, some of them don't. You have all of the trauma that all of your ancestors above you have had. So thousands of people have funneled that all down to you. You have as many lifetimes as you have had traumas that have not been healed, and you have had however many years you've been living, years of trauma that have not been healed. So you look at all of that and you think, okay, that is not going to happen in one session. You're not going to be a whole new version of yourself because you're dealing with things that are sometimes beyond your understanding. You have the ability to connect all that. Everyone does. Like, it takes time to understand that. But, if you're going to different healers for different things, it's not going to happen overnight. And you need to be patient with it. And the crazy thing is, so let's say somebody's been working on their healing for 10 years, 40 to 50 years old. And all of a sudden at 55, they start with this horrible illness nobody can figure out. Maybe it involves their neck. And all of a sudden they go to someone for past life regression and find out at the age of 55 in another lifetime, they were beheaded or hung. Well, this soul memory is going to come up in a different way here physically for us because it wasn't healed. And so that pain that they're experiencing seems to have come out of nowhere, but it doesn't. The soul memory triggered the age triggered the soul memory, and boom, there comes this new affliction when you thought, God, I've been working for 10 years on myself. Why am I in this place? And that seems frustrating, but it's how it works. And I think the important thing is that we don't get up, frustrated by that or feel like we've hit a block wall. There's always answers. There's always things for people to do and to work on themselves. But Lena said, being intuitive and having premonitions, why are babies, children, and animals very likely drawn to me? I'll answer, and Connie can answer too. But children and animals are very close to the spirit realm. They're not as filtered as we are as adults, and so they're very drawn to highly sensitive people or intuitive or empaths because they feel that connection. So that's very common.
I 100% agree. I have a granddaughter. When she was younger, she'd talk about the old man in the corner a lot there, so she was seeing somebody there, and she wasn't afraid. She wasn't scared. It was, the old man in the corner. And we just go with it, and it's like, let her go. And animals are very intuitive themselves. And I always say, young kids, animals, and old people like me. Everything else in between is so. It's just.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes, and I think Nina too. You're probably the kind of person that somebody will come up to and just start talking to, and you'll know a life story, and in a few short minutes, because they are drawn to you to tell you this and that, because that happens to me all the time. And Wayne will ask, are you exchanging Christmas cards yet?
That's awesome. She said yes. She said that babies reach out to her in the Walmart lines for them to pick her up, or for her to pick them up. And I have to laugh about this. Little kids do that to me everywhere I go. And I've had a life path with children, so that's a common thing too. But they talk to me, they wave at me, they make faces at me, they want to hand me their toys. But my favorite is when I go to someone's house for a group reading or to do a house cleansing, their pets come right over and either climb in my bag or climb on my lap. And they're like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's fine. Yeah. The cat, last house I went to do a clearing, the cat climbed in my bag and started pulling all my herbs out. Oh, awesome. It was awesome. Yeah. Kay, I just wanted to answer your question. I do past life regressions, correct? Yes, I do. If you're curious about that or any services, you can just check out my website, psychicmediumdanijo.com. Yeah, babies. She said she can't eat alone at restaurants. That's awesome. I had two questions. I only asked you one of them.
Mm.
So my other question for you would be, what would you tell people at this point of their life if they were feeling stuck?
Oh, boy,
What
boy.
would your guidance be?
Sit with it. Sit in the silence. Sit in the silence every day. You don't have to meditate. You don't have, if you don't want, but sit in the silence. No phone, no TV. Your mind will start to wander at first, and you'll be wondering where it's going and all this other stuff. And but it's like practice that for 5 minutes a day, and you sit and you just ask, and then you say, what is it I need to know? What should I know? And if you can sit in the quiet, or even if you want to meditate, if you can do that, which is good, it will come. Or seek like-minded individuals. In the sanctuary, we're like-minded individuals. We can share without the fear of being like, oh dear. And I just enjoy talking to other people that are going through similar experiences that and things that I am. So you don't, because sometimes people think you're weird or a freak or something like that too, and it's like, no, we're normal. We're somewhat normal.
Absolutely. My favorite thing to tell people, if I have a client come for guidance, let's say, and they're trying to tell me, they're like, oh, I hope you don't think I'm crazy, but this and this is happening. And I always go, yay, I'm so excited for you. You're normal. The rest of the world is not normal.
Yeah.
It's okay that this is happening.
And don't push it aside.
Yes.
Don't keep pushing it aside, because you're never going to get past that then either. If you just keep pushing it aside, it's like you got to kind of face it head on and keep going at it. And the answers sometimes don't come easy. They don't come quickly. They don't come like you want it to. But eventually, sometimes most of the time, the answers do come.
Absolutely. Corey said her cat always hears me talk on the computer and comes running. That's a true story. What was I going to add to that? Oh, just because you've brought up the sanctuary, I just wanted to let everyone know, if you're curious about what that is, it's actually an online teaching group. It's a Facebook group of like-minded women, and we take a retreat every year together, and there's teachings and book studies and people to bounce your questions and ideas off of. And if you're interested in that, it's also on my website under the Sisterhood tab at the top, so you can read more about it. Lena just asked a question. She said, why is it when I go to church, I start to cry, but with a joyful, overwhelming feeling inside of me? And I'm going to let Connie answer this too, but I want to just add my 2 cents real quick. The connection to God, the connection to spirit is there. And so even though church is not for everyone, you're always going to feel that connection to spirit.
And that is where you're finding your peace. And that is where you can let yourself be, because you're so happy to have experienced that. And it is a very peaceful feeling if that happens to you. And it is a joyful experience, because that is what you needed at that time.
Absolutely. Great advice there. Great advice. Corey said, we are all normally crazy in the sanctuary.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So Lena, yes, she said, thank you. The crying that comes with that is that unconditional love we feel from Jesus, Mother Mary, Creator, God, however you want to picture that. And so that feeling is like nothing we feel before. So that's very normal to have that feeling in church. Well, I just want to, if there's any other questions anyone wants to ask Connie, go ahead and ask them now. But I want to say that it has been so fun to have you on here.
Oh, I've had a blast. This
Oh my
time has gone
gosh.
really fast. I'm
I
surprised.
I know. I tell you what, I feel like an hour just flies by.
It did.
Um, so if people wanted to connect with you, Connie, what's the best way for them to find you?
Oh, I am Connie Gerard McPherson on Facebook. If we have mutual friends, you will find me that way. Be sure I'll seek you out. I mean, I'll have to see, what it is. Because I think my friend status is set that I have to have mutual friends with it. So I check out who our mutual friends are before I do it. I do have a page um, on there, a group, I should say, and it's called Journey. And I think there might be a different couple of journeys on there, but my journey is a picture of a gal headed towards a bright star with the blue and the purples and the pink in it, and that's my group there.
And you guys should all go check it out. It's very
Yes.
informative and uplifting. Connie is amazing at her posts.
Well, and I find them. I just find them or
Yes.
whatever.
Cool
And I have,
too.
and I, yes, and I encourage ones to go there and to post on it. I have an amazing group of people that do post on it and find things that encourage and are uplifting for ones too. So I'm always happy for that. And it's because we're all in this together. We're all struggling. I like to, my favorite saying is we are all the walking wounded, and we're in this together. And it's just uplifting, and to know others are, not every post will speak to you, not everything will speak, but there will be something you can take away from some of them sometimes, and know that. So
Absolutely. We are all connected, and it's a beautiful thing to make those connections and find more like-minded people and ways that we can continue spreading that light. But thank you all for watching.
thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yes, it's been a pleasure, and everybody is thanking you. So thank you for sharing all of your wisdom with them, and thank you for the friendship. And
Thank you.
I appreciate and love you.
I love you too. You help
Yes.
so many people and continue to do so. So it's been
Well, and it's amazing to see you do that as well. I think you don't realize how often you do that as well.
thank you.
Yes. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you didn't get to see the entire broadcast, it will be available shortly here in the group and then on Spotify within a couple of days. So yes, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you. And here's to another episode. And the 11th episode, Connie.
Ooh, lucky.
Uh-huh. All right, you guys. Have a great